Now, the Supreme Court today in fact, expressed his serious concerns over issue and misuse of sedition law. The apex court there has questioned the centre and said that the same law was used by Britishers to silence Mahatma Gandhi. Supreme Court has also added that if any party does not want to hear the views of another party, it can easily use sedition law against them, and there is no accountability to it. In fact, the top court has also asked Attorney General that government has repealed many stale laws but is still not looking to repeal Section 124A of the IPC dealing with sedition. The centre has also opposed the repealing of the sedition law by saying parameters of it can be controlled and laid down specifically. AG KK Venugopal told the CJI that other petitions on the same issue are still pending before their benches of the Supreme Court for a while now. After now months of infighting, finally some balancing act to keep the flock together in Punjab ahead of next year's polls. In a big decision here, disgruntled leader Navjot Singh Sidhu likely to be made the Punjab Congress chief. Harish Rawat, who is party's Punjab in charge, has confirmed to India Today about this development and also said that final decision on this will be made soon enough. As per the new truce formula here, Captain Amrinder Singh still will continue to stay as the Chief Minister of Punjab. The Punjab Congress will also have two working presidents, including representation from the Dalit community. However, making Sidhu PCC chief might just trigger another infighting within the Congress unit there, as Captain Amrinder Singh has been against Sidhu being made as the PCC chief. What's also interesting here is that there will be no deputy chief minister's post that Sidhu had demanded for himself. Now let's quickly cut across to India Today's Rajdeep Sardesai, who spoke to Punjab Congress in charge, Harish Rawat, about the decision. Let's take a listen.
I am told that one possible formula is because Captain is the Chief Minister, he stays on as Chief Minister and the election is fought under his leadership, and Mr. Sidhu is accommodated in the PCC, possibly as a PCC President?
Amrinder Singh ji is Chief Minister. Yes. He's Chief Minister for last 4.5 years. Naturally, we are going to the election, him as a Chief Minister.
Under his leadership.
Him as a Chief Minister. But one thing is very clear, both has to work together. And
so Sidhu as a PCC chief and Amrinder as Chief Minister is a workable formula?
I cannot, because I have still the clearance from the CP is not with me.
But so something on this line. Something on these lines.
But it will be something on this line, nearer to this.
That one is on with the PCC and one is with as the Chief Minister.
And both should work together, because Punjab is a very sensitive state. History owes something from both of them.
We have ample examples. I can also quote from Goa, I can quote Manipur, I can quote what they tried to do in Uttarakhand long back, then the court intervened. I can quote what they did in Madhya Pradesh. They were not interested in preparing for the first wave of corona crisis. Rather, they were more interested in destabilizing the Madhya Pradesh government. We have seen. So we know what kind of priorities this government has. The Congress House is in order. We are working as a combined entity, working together. There might be certain difference of opinions in between certain senior leaders or certain leaders at the state level, but that happens in a organization which works on democratic principles.
Now, should this peace formula really be considered an elevation for Sidhu and a compromise for the captain? Let's quickly cut across. Rajdeep joining us.
Absolutely. Somewhere it appears that Navjot Singh Sidhu has in a way won this round, because Sidhu was insistent that he be made the Punjab Congress chief. Nothing else would do. And from what Harish Rawat has told us, the formula clearly revolves around accommodating Sidhu either as working president or president of the Punjab Congress, while Captain Amrinder Singh is the chief minister. So the formula is that while the leadership will remain with Amrinder Singh in the sense that he is chief minister and will take the party into the election as chief minister, Sidhu is getting what he wanted, which is PCC chief, and thereby positioning himself in a way as the successor to Captain Amrinder. Because I asked this to Harish Rawat, what happens after the election if the Congress wins? He says that the party high command will decide. So there is no guarantee that if the Congress wins, Captain Amrinder Singh will stay on as CM. So in a sense, Sidhu clearly has won this round, because this is exactly what Navjot Singh Sidhu wanted. And to that extent, the formula which is being worked out suggests advantage Navjot Singh Sidhu in the battle of Punjab. It's almost as if Captain Amrinder Singh has reconciled to the fact that he's going to have to work with Sidhu in the next 7 months.
All right, Rajdeep, thank you very much for joining us on that. Now, moving on, we are looking at population politics that continues. After Congress criticized the government over population control policy, BJP's National General Secretary from Karnataka, C.T. Ravi, has now hit back. Ravi reminded the Congress of emergency-era mass forced sterilizations and vasectomies conducted to slam its stand on population policy. The BJP leader said that Congress must remember of what they did during emergency between 1975 to 77. He further added that the Congress leaders forcibly got people sterilized without their will. He's also said that Congress had Sanjay and Indra Brigade for forced family planning programs. And the BJP is only putting the topic out for discussion, hasn't yet implemented anything. Congress's Dinesh Gundu slamming the BJP and the UP Chief Minister Yogi Adityanath, saying that their administration has collapsed, hence they have come out with a population policy.
कांग्रेस लोगों को प्रश्न पूछना चाहता हूं, 75 से 77 में इमरजेंसी में कालखंड में क्या किए कांग्रेस? इंदिरा ब्रिगेड नाम पर, संजय ब्रिगेड नाम पर यूथ कांग्रेस लोग फोर्सिबली ऑपरेशन करके कंट्रोल करने का कोशिश किए। भाई इस बार चर्चा उठा है, डेमोक्रेसी में वार नहीं कर सकता, डिबेट में देश के हित के क्या सोच सकता है, क्या निर्णय ले सकता है, निर्णय कर दो देश के हित के बारे में।
I don't understand, for purely the Assam Chief Minister Mr. Himanto and the UP Chief Minister Mr. Yogi, you know, have they applied their mind? Have they discussed with the experts? These are political gimmicks because their administration has collapsed. You give jobs, you give money, you reduce prices, make people's lives better. Instead of doing that, you want to create diversion and make a discussion on this because you don't want the real issues to be discussed.
Moving over to Tamil Nadu, a row over Tamil religious war cry used by the BJP in Tamil Nadu polls at the gate of Army unit in Coimbatore. The video of Vetrivel Veeraval, an ancient Tamil war cry, eulogizing Lord Murugan inscribed at the entrance of Army Battalion Complex, has now gone viral. In fact, the divine phrase invokes victory for the divine spear of Lord Murugan. This has now gone viral. The religious slogan was put up at the army unit's entrance in Coimbatore's Nadu War Cry. In fact, critically, we're looking at this phrase here becoming a war cry for the BJP during its last assembly poll campaign. The slogan, which translates quite literally into winning spear, mighty spear, a reference to the spear on veil wielded by the deity there. It was a commonly used battle cry for ancient Tamil kings and soldiers at that time. In fact, a defense PRO clarified that the slogan has been at the entrance for many years now. It's nothing new, has no political connections whatsoever, and is used by the Madukkarai regiment as a distancy victory signal. Meanwhile, no exchange of fire between India and Pakistan at the line of control since February this year due to the ceasefire agreement. But the army is changing its tactics here. It appears it's focusing on laying ambush to neutralize infiltrating terrorists. India Today's defense expert, the defense editor Abhishek Bhalla, brings us more along the line of control. This report. Let's take a listen.
A semblance of peace at the line of control. Guns have fallen silent. But the lull can be treacherous. Adversary can't be taken at face value. Army is vigil and alert. carefully changing its tactics, training for new challenges. While the ceasefire since February still holds and no exchange of fire with Pakistan, Indian Army is focusing on infiltration combat.
Keeping in mind the ceasefire agreement since February, there is a slight change in tactics by the Indian Army. What we are witnessing is a real-time exercise that is being carried out to ensure how to combat any kind of infiltration. This firing is focused on taking on infiltrators and not firing against the Pakistani army.
The new tactics include laying ambush after allowing terrorists to cross over, guided by precision information on terror movements.
Every movement across the line of control is being monitored and observed from this little room at a forward post at the LOC. It's not just the Pakistani army that the Indian army is watching, but most importantly, terror hideouts. There are several terror hideouts, and the focus is on these sightings, because whenever an infiltration takes place, the forces on the ground will only have a pinpointed, accurate information only through these sightings. And that's why newer gadgets, new technology is being used.
With relative peace at the LOC, the population living in adjoining villages are heaving a sigh of relief, despite being meters away from Pakistani army posts. The border peace has given a never-before fillip to development and infrastructural work, often disputed in the past by cross-LOC shelling. India Today travelled to the villages near the Indian fence at the LOC in the Bimber Gali sector. The population of 5,000 has suffered for decades, but is now cautiously hopeful.
सीज फायर का बहुत बड़ा फर्क पड़ा है। सीज फायर हुआ है तो जी ने सांस लिया है, क्योंकि हर बार यही रहता था कि अभी गोला आ जाएगा। हमारा बाप दादा भटकाई से ही यहाँ ही रहते हैं। 0 पॉइंट LOC यही है। 200 बैंकर या 300 बनना था तो बन पाए 60 या 70, तो वो हमारा काम पूरा न हो पाया, ताकि क्या पता पड़ोसी का किस वक्त वो फिर न टूट पड़े, तो फिर भी हम खतरे में हैं, तो हमें बैंकर और दिए जाएं।
While the army has tweaked its operational tactics, the standard operation procedure remains the same. And so is the motto of preparedness for any eventuality.
This is a forward Indian Army post at the line of control facing Pakistan-occupied Kashmir. And there are several Pakistani army posts just across from here. Along with the Pakistani army posts, there are several civilian dwellings that the Pakistani army uses as a shield so that the Indian army does not attack those areas, since they are civilian homes. With camera person Satya at the line of control in the Bimber Gali sector, Abhishek Bhalla for India Today.
There seems to be no end to the drone menace in Jammu. 2 drones were spotted in Kaluchak and Akhnur area of Jammu last night. First, a suspected drone activity was witnessed near Kaluchak military station at around 8 p.m. The drone returned before security forces could target it. Another drone was spotted along the line of control in Palanwala sector, Akhnur area at around 9 p.m. The alert army jawans there fired several rounds of bullets at the drones, forcing it to return towards Pakistan-occupied Jammu and Kashmir. Now, these fresh sightings comes a day after drone was spotted near the international border in Arnia sector of Jammu. Meanwhile, Chief of Defence Staff General Bipin Rawat is in Jammu sector to review the security situation along the international border and the line of control with Pakistan. And coming up on the other side, Dharamshala picking up pieces